Today's recipe, you guys, is packed with so much flavor and a whole lot of memories. Hey guys, Kira here from 50 Shades of Mom, back to share another recipe with you guys, and this one I'm super excited to share because it hits very close to home. Do you have that meal or a food that when it comes in front of you, the smell, the taste, it just transports you somewhere? Whether it's a timestamp, a place, a person, an event, something like that, that particular thing that you're eating or smelling, it just brings you right back there. Well, today's recipe does that for me. So today I'm showing you guys how to make matzo ball soup, and this recipe just screams my childhood to me. Now, I didn't grow up in a Jewish home. I am Italian and I grew up in a Catholic home, but right next door are exact neighbors. They were a split family home. So the mom was Jewish and the dad was Catholic. And so I got a chance to experience with them so much culture that I was never exposed to before. They used to babysit me, so I spent a lot of time over there getting to know a whole nother side that I didn't know of. And learning the Jewish culture was so amazing to me as a child. I loved the story of Hanukkah. I loved the little poem that they would say when they would light the menorah. I loved, I made dreidels with them and all of that. I just have so many memories that are warm and fuzzy that I will never forget. And one of them was Hanukkah time when Dee, the mom, used to be standing at the stove making homemade latkes. Now, I love a potato latke, but I've never tried my hands at doing that. Maybe one day I will, but it's one of those things I know I'll never make it as good as her, so I didn't even want to try. But that was a recipe that was passed on from generations to generations and given to her, and she used to stand there and fry them a little bit at a time, and she would never get them because we'd all be waiting for them to come out of the grease, and she'd dish us all out one and we'd be eating it and she'd be putting more in the pan. And I always used to laugh because I'd say when are you gonna eat one? Just so many memories. Well, later on in life, I ended up dating her son. Now that's obviously not who I ended up with, but you know that, at least for me, food is the way to someone's heart. And so I really wanted to, you want to impress, right? So I really wanted to cook a big, authentic Jewish dinner. So one Passover, I decided to investigate and check some cookbooks and Pinterest and online and all of those things. And I took little bits and pieces from everywhere and I made my own matzo ball soup, and I made a potato kugel, and I made a brisket, and I made a really good Passover dinner. I went and bought a Tanakh, which is a Jewish Bible, and I had this big Passover thing planned out, and it was such a hit. Everybody talked about it. I invited Dee over, she ate it, and coming from a Jewish woman who would cook this food her whole life, was so impressed by my matzo ball soup. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys. And before I came on to share this recipe today, I went back onto Pinterest to kind of re-go over the common matzo ball soup recipes. When I mentioned to you guys I was gonna make this, I put it in my meal plan and stuff. A bunch of you had commented and said, I've always been waiting for this recipe, or somebody taught me how to make this and they were the only ones. I can't wait to see how you make it. And I looked around and nobody really makes it like I do. A lot of the things are the same, but I add a couple of ingredients. I add turnip and parsnip to my soup broth that nobody else really does. That's because on Long Island, I used to buy a bunch of soup greens from the grocery store. It was like a package, and it would come with celery and onions and carrots and parsnip and turnip and dill, which is the only ingredient that I was unable to find when I was getting ready to make this soup. But that was where my inspiration, those soup greens, came from brewing the broth. So now that I've chit-chatted your ear off about the backstory of why I wanted to share this soup, I'm going to take you down to the counter and show you the ingredients that you're going to need to make my homemade matzo ball soup. Okay guys, so here are the ingredients that we are going to need to make this matzo ball soup. On one side we have the ingredients that are your soup base, and then over here we have the most important part, and that is our matzo ball mix. This is the Manischewitz brand. There are tons of different brands out there. This just happens to be the one that I prefer. There's 2 packages in each box. I've already used one. We're using another one today, and we're just using the instructions per the box, which is 2 eggs and some vegetable oil. And then over here we have 2 containers of low sodium chicken broth. I have 4 cups of water. And then here we have some veggies. So I have some onion chopped up, some carrot, that's turnip. I have celery and parsnip. And then here I have some portioned chicken. So this is chicken that I just had pulled apart from like a rotisserie chicken that I got from Walmart. And I had separated it into separate bags. I was going to pull it for lunches for the kids, like quesadillas or something. But I decided to put it here in this recipe. I know that not every matzo ball soup includes chicken. Some does, some doesn't. But I usually have a tendency to always throw chicken in, and sometimes I'll even pull my matzo balls out and throw in noodles because my family is not big on the matzo balls. That's really kind of my thing, and so I will give them like the regular soup and I'll add some rice or something in there, and I like it to be a little bit more full-bodied, so I always make sure to add chicken to it just so that they still have a hearty bowl of soup even though they're not eating the matzo balls. So now let's get into getting all of this stuff into the pot because it's pretty much dump and go. So first we're going to start off by adding all of our broth into the pot. And now in goes the 4 cups of water. And then here goes the parsnip, the turnip, celery, the carrots, the onion, and now the chicken. So I'm just going to give this a good stir, and I'm going to make sure that it comes to a boil. And once the soup becomes to a boil, I'm just going to drop the heat and let it simmer while I begin to prepare our matzo balls. So you're going to pour the packaged mix into the bowl, you're going to add the oil, you're going to add your 2 eggs, and then you're going to give it a good thorough mix. Now you're going to see that it's a little grainy in texture. It's very hard to explain a matzo if you've never had one before, but you're going to let it sit for like 15-20 minutes, and it's actually similar to like a grit, I would say, but it's actually going to swell up and enlarge when you let it sit. And so now that it's like kind of absorbed, you're going to roll it into like 1-inch balls. And the best part of the oil that you added, you don't need to do anything to your hands. The texture is like slimy almost, so it allows you to roll them with no problem. Nothing gets stuck on your hands, and it's very easy to maneuver. Once you rolled up all of your matzo balls, you're going to bring your soup back up to a boil, and then we're just going to drop them into the pot. You will see that they start to swell almost instantly after they touch the water, but that does not mean that they're cooked. They need to sit in here for a good 30 minutes for them to get thoroughly cooked all the way into the inside. Alright guys, then after 30 to 40 minutes, your soup is done. It is absolutely amazing how simple this recipe is, but all of those flavors put together just make such a wonderful, wonderful soup. I personally love that turnip and that parsnip. Like, what it really does, that only ingredient that I'm missing is the dill, and I just wish that I could have found some right before I was making this recipe, because that really is just that little bit that I'm missing here. But everything else just, it's so authentic to me. It literally just brings me back to those moments. And like I said, no one in the house really likes them like I do, but they're so good. And they're similar to like sponges once they're cooked. So they soak up all of that flavor of the soup, and it's just so yummy. I have some of the butter rounds cookies that are similar crackers that are similar to Ritz that I like to serve with it. I am all about crackers in my brothy soup, so I'll definitely crush up some of those crackers and put them in my soup, and it is just, it's so delicious. I'm actually glad that my family doesn't like it, because it means that there's more for me, right? So that's it, guys, for this recipe. So make sure you give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you decide that you're going to try it, or you do, make sure you come back, comment down below, let me know what you think of this recipe. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I try to post tons of food related content on this channel. For everybody else, guys, you know how much I love you, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.